The fiscal cliff, this confluence of events in economics and business, which is now the single biggest problem facing the United States. This car represents the United States, and it's facing a major hazard ahead. From December the 31st, if the US economy refuses to watch for warnings, that is what promises to happen. There will be a variety of spending cuts and tax hikes that will all come in at the same time. The net effect would be dramatically on the US economy, and it would cut roughly 3 to 4% from the GDP.
In the news, there's been a lot of talk about the fiscal cliff. But what is the fiscal cliff? While this term has been used to describe multiple situations, most recently it was used to describe the sharp decline in the budget deficit that might have occurred in the beginning of 2013 due to tax increases and budget cuts. This is due to the expiration of the Tax Relief Act of 2010. This could have caused a mild recession, increased taxes, an increase in unemployment, as well as cuts spread evenly throughout domestic and defense spending. U.S. lawmakers had three options. 1. Let the policies that were scheduled to go into effect do so. This had the advantage of significantly decreasing the national debt by an estimated $560 billion. But it also increased taxes and has a steep spending cuts that would weigh on economic growth heavily. This may have even put us back into a recession. 2. They could cancel the scheduled tax increases. This wouldn't hinder economic growth, but it would increase the debt. Or 3. They could take the middle ground by increasing taxes slightly, decreasing the debt while not having any major impact on economic growth. This ended up being the choice they chose, increasing tax rate by 39.6% on people with an income of more than $400,000 and couples with incomes of more than $450,000 a year.
For the past couple of months, I've been working with leaders of both parties to try and forge an agreement that would grow our economy and shrink the deficit. A balanced plan that would cut spending in a responsible way, but also ask the wealthiest Americans to pay a little more. And above all, protect our middle class and everybody who's striving to get into the middle class. I still want to get this done. It's the right thing to do for our families, for our businesses, and for our entire economy. But the hour for immediate action is here. It is now. We're now at the point where in just 4 days, every American's tax rates are scheduled to go up by law. Every American's paycheck will get considerably smaller. And that would be the wrong thing to do for our economy. It would be bad for middle-class families, and it would be bad for businesses that depend on family spending. Fortunately, Congress can prevent it from happening if they act right now. I just had a good and constructive discussion here at the White House with Senate and House leadership about how to prevent this tax hike on the middle class. And I'm optimistic we may still be able to reach an agreement that can pass both houses.
Now what is worrying many people is something called a sequestration. But what is that? Well, a sequestration is when Congress cannot agree on other spending cuts of a similar size. A sequestration, or automatic spending cut, is kicked into action. This will cut funding for government programs such as defense or Social Security. Congress can exempt certain programs from being cut, but the remaining programs will be hit harder, having to make up for it. If the sequestration is put into effect, it cuts defense and domestic spending by $55 billion each year from 2013 to 2022. To give you a sense of scale, in 2011, defense spending was $712 billion. Domestic spending was $566 billion. So this is a gigantic chunk. Although going over the fiscal cliff sounded very dangerous and imminent, there were actually many ways Congress could have prevented it from happening. The fiscal cliff scare was more of just a media stirring the pot. This concludes our presentation on the fiscal cliff.